Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. There were originally no roads in the world. Paths were formed when people walked over the same route over time. The question was, who was the first person to tread on the path? The answer was, Yuan'er. Even in the Red Lotus domain, based on what Yuan'er knew, there was none who had severed their lotuses to reach the nine-leaf stage yet. There were no such records in the history books. Yuan'er, the second disciple of the evil Sky Pavilion, the famous sword devil in Great Yen, was the first person to tread on this path. He could only rely on himself without any external help. He did not believe Zhou, and hence, he had chosen this isolated and silent place. The primal chi in the Red Lotus domain was denser. Unfortunately, there were more beasts, and he was more likely to be disturbed. However, these matters did not affect his determination to sprout a leaf. Having come this far, he had his fare of hardships, after all. Radiant energy rings continued sliding down his avatar as 8 leaves spun around it. The avatar shone with a golden light. At this moment, flying beasts were beginning to gather. It seemed as though they had picked up the scent of some exquisite delicacy as they landed on the branches and looked down at the human. A gust of wind blew through the forest, lifting Yuan'er's long hair. A few birds flew down, trying to get closer. With a whistle, the longevity sword shot out and accurately pierced through the birds' chests. The birds' carcasses dropped to the ground immediately. Yuan'er was unaffected, focused on sprouting his leaf. As the energy rings dropped with increasing speed, the birds of the forest increased in numbers, and their sizes increased as well. Yuan'er placed 2 fingers on his leg. His longevity sword buzzed, as though it was warning the beasts away. He was an 8.5 leaf cultivator, after all. Therefore, the first half of the leaf sprouting process went smoothly. He almost did not feel any pressure at all. As the energy rings picked up speed, the primal chi and vitality energy in the surroundings began to gather as well. The beasts grew by devouring vitality energy. Powerful humans were one of their most favorite foods. However, powerful humans were one of the foes they were most wary of as well. Energy continued to gather. Yuan'er kept an eye on the beasts around him through the corners of his eyes. His avatar spun. Due to the lack of a golden lotus, there was, naturally, no spinning golden lotus. As it spun, the vitality energy in the surroundings seemed to be pulled in by a vortex as they swiftly gathered toward the avatar. This was Yuan'er's method of sprouting leaves. Swoosh. A gust of wind blew, and the forest seemed to sway with it. In front of the Thousand Willow Monastery, Wuya and Zhenghai looked ahead with blank expressions on their faces. Did Big Brother leave? Wuya sounded reluctant to part. He won't. He's going to wait here for his eldest senior brother to return. Moreover, there's nowhere else for him to go, Zhenghai said. What's that? Wuya pointed at a huge beast in the distant horizons. It was flapping its wings as it flew toward the Thousand Willow Monastery. A flying beast. Notify the elders and the monastery master. Quick. Oh. Wuya swiftly flew toward the mountain and informed Zhou and Tianbuji about this. Zhou was not completely healed yet. Even with Wuya healing him, he would need more time before he completely recovered. Upon hearing this news, he was shocked. It's not unheard of for beasts to attack human settlements, but beasts rarely appear in these parts. Why would they suddenly appear in the Thousand Willow Monastery? Tianbuji frowned and said, Is somebody trying to harm us? Many things have happened lately. The Thousand Willow Monastery had offended Flying Star House and the Sky Marshal Court. It was not impossible for them to resort to underhanded tricks. Zhou shook his head and said, It's unlikely. If they wanted to harm the Thousand Willow Monastery, they could just send their men over. They don't have to beat around the bush. Moreover, I've ordered for the news of our good relationship with the Ninth Temple to be spread. Although the Flying Star House is vexed, they won't go head-to-head with Ninth Temple. Tianbuji nodded and found that Zhou's words made sense. Hence, he said, in that case, there's only one other possibility. Someone is attempting the 9-leaf stage in the Thousand Willow Monastery. The 9-leaf cultivator has attracted the beasts. Zhu Xian? Zhu Xian was the only one who had sprouted the 9th leaf in the Thousand Willow Monastery recently. I don't think so. Zhu Xian left the Thousand Willow Monastery after sprouting his leaf and returned to the 9th temple. I think it's someone else. Upon hearing their words, Wu, who was standing next to them, exclaimed, "It's Big Brother. Big Brother is sprouting a leaf." Xia Chengqiu and Tian Buji exchanged a look. Naturally, they knew who Wu was referring to. Pass down my order. Search the area within a 30-mile radius. We must find Yuan'er as quickly as possible. Monastery Master, should we invite Elder Zhou to emerge from his secluded cultivation? Tian Buji asked. There's no need for that. Elder Zhou is a traditional man. It's unlikely that he'll be accepting of a foreign tribesman. I'll explain the circumstances to him personally when he emerges from his cultivation. All right. Tian Buji led hundreds of disciples and flew away from the Thousand Willow Monastery. When they saw the huge beast in the skies, they gathered together. Tian Buji looked at the dense forest in the distant valley and said, "Follow me." Understood. Tian Buji led the way and flew toward the huge beasts. Yuan'er's leaf sprouting process was at the crucial stage at this moment. His avatar was spinning at its highest speed. The vitality energy had gathered around him, causing the flying beasts above the forest to squawk in excitement and agitation. The flying beasts flapped their wings, causing leaves to fall. Yuan'er moved 2 fingers. The longevity sword split into 2, 4, and eventually split into 1,000 energy swords that shot toward the flying beasts. Boom. 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 The flock of flying beasts fell from the air while the other beasts dove. The deafening squawks made Yuan'er frown slightly. However, his years of leaf sprouting experience and methods of surviving dangerous situations made him exceptionally composed and determined. Swoosh. Yuan'er rose to his feet. His avatar was spinning on top of his palm while he held his sword with his other hand. The golden swords in the skies seemed to form a cluster of energy that slashed at the diving birds. Quick. Yuan'er focused on sprouting his leaf. The energy radiant rings grew thicker. He could feel his 8 golden leaves were already at their peak. The smaller birds could not do anything about Yuan'er's energy swords. Swoosh. Yuan'er looked up. A pair of wings that spanned dozens of meters covered the sky overhead. Ordinary people would have been scared out of their wits if they had seen this. Only Yuan'er could still smile. You think so highly of me. Interesting. He pushed 2 fingers down. His longevity sword moved, and the trees fell. Traceless sword. He pushed away from the ground with a straight back. He flew backward gracefully at top speed. His avatar continued to sprout its leaf. The huge beast flapped its wings, stirring up a strong wind. Pebbles flew in the air as well. Bam. 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 The pebbles stirred up the wind swept through the forest. Yuan'er tapped his feet again as he activated his protective energy. The energy swords formed a wall in front of him. The huge beast sensed the surging vitality energy. Its eyes glinted as it dove with its shining red talons. At this moment, energy seals shot past Yuan'er from behind. Soon after, energy sabers, energy arrows, palm seals, and script seals danced in the air. They were all red. Yuan'er frowned slightly. Should I start my second plan? The people from the Thousand Willow Monastery were here. If they decided to seize the opportunity and worked with the beasts to kill him now, it would be difficult for him to survive. He had considered this possibility before, so he had come up with a countermeasure as well. He looked in the direction of the Thousand Willow Monastery. Even if he were to fail in sprouting this leaf, he would not allow his pride as the sword devil to be trampled on. He was about to leave when a voice rang in the air. I'll help you. Tian Buji launched a wave of energy that struck the huge beast. Hundreds of disciples formed a wall. Yuan'er flew lower and looked around him. Although Tianbuji had helped him, he was still wary. He stood with his back against a huge boulder as he absorbed the vitality energy from his surroundings at a higher speed. Boom. At this moment, the huge beast dove. Hundreds of disciples were sent flying. The eagle-like beast was unafraid of these inconsequential techniques. Tianbuji's ultimate technique was the only one that made it pause slightly. Occasionally, several of its feathers would fall off. Form the formation. Tianbuji ordered. The disciples quickly gathered in the air and formed a formation. The Taoist formation seal covered 100 meters in the air. The beast screeched sharply. Its talons glinted in the light as it rammed into the huge formation. Boom. A deafening boom resounded as the formation was destroyed. The Thousand Willow Monastery disciples were sent flying back, throwing up blood. Tianbuji grunted. His blood essence boiled in his body. Such a powerful beast. Retreat. Tianbuji had no choice but to order a retreat. The disciples pressed on their chests as they bit back the pain and swiftly retreated all the way until they were in front of the huge boulder that Yuan'er was leaning against. What should we do? Wu flew out from behind. She raised her hand and threw a huge red radiant circle out. She seemed like a fairy of the forest at this moment. As soon as the radiant circle touched the ground, it covered the hundreds of disciples. Everyone's injuries were visibly healing. This wide-range healing technique caused her to stagger and pant heavily. Elder Tian, return to the Thousand Willow Monastery. No, the huge beast will follow us. Our barrier can't stop this huge beast. However, we can't keep this up forever. Without a 9-leaf cultivator leading the assault, the others would only end up as fodder. Stop it. Tianbuji made up his mind. He glanced in the direction of the boulder. At this moment, a person moved toward them with a burst of movements. I have a plan. Should we give it a try? Elder Su. Isn't Elder Su cultivating in seclusion behind the mountain? This is great. He came just in time. The middle-aged man was the Thousand Willow Monastery's third elder, Su. Elder Su carried his sword as he ran forward. He did not fly. He was charging toward the boulder as his sword buzzed in his hand. The problem will be gone if we kill this person. Su's target was Yuan'er, who was leaning against the boulder, not the huge beast in the air. Tianbuji was shocked. Stop it. Elder Su, don't do something that's going to harm the monastery. Stop him. Upon seeing this, the disciples were shocked as well. It was impossible to stop Su at this moment. The sword in Su's hand shone brightly with red light as it shot toward Yuan'er's face. Primal Qi caressed Yuan'er's face like a cold breeze. No matter how complicated or dangerous his environment was, Yuan'er could always maintain his composure. It was the same at this moment. Yuan'er did not dodge. Instead, a faint smile appeared on his face. He saw the radiant energy rings at the avatar's waist travel in the other direction. He said, I see. The radiant ring reversed and returned to the waist. With that, his 9th leaf had sprouted. Yuan'er moved swiftly and decisively. As soon as he saw the 9th leaf that was shining with golden radiance like the other 8 leaves, he clenched his hands. His avatar disappeared immediately. He only needed a glance to see it was a 9-leaf avatar without a lotus. He could sense there was something special about the avatar, but now was not the time to be studying his avatar, so he retracted it. Moreover, he did not want to expose his avatar yet. The dense vitality energy dispersed immediately. At this moment, Elder Su was upon him. Surrender yourself. An energy sword shot forth. Yuan'er moved his right hand slightly. His longevity sword vibrated as he swung it forcefully. An energy sword swept out horizontally. Bam! Su's energy sword was destroyed. There was a slight change in his expression. He was shocked. He pushed away from the ground and attempted to fly higher so that he could work with the beast to take down this cultivator who was attempting the 9-leaf stage. He was barely a few meters from the ground when Yuan'er's silhouette shot past him. There was a flash of light. Swoosh. Yuan'er did not even deign to look at Su as he shot past. He gripped his longevity sword tightly as he shot toward the huge beast with a burst of movements. The Thousand Willow Monastery disciples merely felt a breeze blowing past them when they saw shadows brandishing swords shooting in the air above them. Every sword strike hit the beast's vital points. The Thousand Willow Monastery disciples were stunned by this. Meanwhile, in the forest, Su slowly looked up and saw the magnificent display of dancing shadows in the air. Then, he looked at the wound the sword left on his stomach. The sword strike had slit it open, and blood was gushing out, dyeing his robes red. This? Is he an 8-leaf cultivator? Su's eyes widened as he fell backward. Tianbuji saw this and shuddered. Elder Su is dead? Among the people present at this moment, Yuan'er was the only one who could kill Su effortlessly while he attacked the huge beast at the same time. Tianbuji was shocked. He gulped. The battle was too intense, leaving him no time to think about too many things. The other disciples did not have time to worry about Su's death as well. They attacked the huge beast. Yuan'er unleashed his Guiyuan sword technique without restraint. The beast was a beast, after all. The colossal creature was nowhere as nimble as humans. It flapped its wings but could not seem to hit its target. Yuan'er went all out with his fighting style. He shot in all directions as he swung his sword around. Feathers fell to the ground. Tianbuji saw the opportunity and ordered, "Everyone, attack." He joined his palms together and an energy barrier shrouded the Thousand Willow Monastery disciples, blocking the wind and rocks that were stirred up the beast's wings. Hundreds of them attacked at the same time. None of them seemed aware that Yuan'er was now a 9-leaf cultivator. His swift sword strokes that moved like the wind impressed the others. Finally, after Yuan'er's series of attacks, the final dozens of energy swords landed on the huge beast's belly. A deafening cry resounded through the forest. The huge beast flapped its wings. It adjusted its direction and shot into the distance. Yuan'er leaped back and hovered in midair. The Thousand Willow Monastery disciples were delighted to see the effect of Yuan'er's attacks. Tianbuji ordered, "After it." Yuan'er shook his head and said, "There's no need to chase after it." Why? Tianbuji wondered. This northern goshawk beast might drop a heart of life. One heart might be worth 200 to 800 years. It's a great treasure. Heart of life? Yuan'er was puzzled. Tianbuji explained, "Beyond human settlements, there are many unknown and powerful beasts. Humans are more insignificant than ants before them. They like to hunt humans, especially powerful ones, since feeding on such humans would improve their abilities. Some beasts would form a heart of life, and humans can replenish their lives if they consume the hearts." Something stirred in Yuan'er. He was indifferent to most things, but as a member of the Melilot nation, how could he remain indifferent to such an important piece of information? The citizens of the Melilot nation had tried to fight against their destinies of being short-lived for generations. Although Yuan'er was at the 8-leaf stage previously, he only had 500 years to live, at most. Currently, he had lived for more than 300 years. Even with his master's longevity pill, he would not be able to overcome the great limit. He was now left with more than 100 years to live. Who would not want such a treasure? However, Yuan'er had just attained the 9-leaf stage. Perhaps, it was due to the lack of lotus, his 9-leaf stage was extremely unstable. The primal chi in his sea of chi was chaotic. At the same time, pulses of vitality energy leaked out. He would suffer a great loss if he gave chase now. If that's the case, won't everyone have long lives? Yuan'er asked. Tianbuji shook his head and said, "Impossible. Based on current research, cultivators can only live for 3,000 years at most. Even hearts of life can't extend a person's life past that." Yuan'er looked at the leaving beast silently. If Yuan'er did not give chase, how could Tianbuji dare to give chase? Tianbuji raised his hand. "Retreat." His disciples bowed in the air. "Understood." Wu wiped the sweat off her face and moved to Yu Shangrong's side. She blinked her huge eyes and said, "Big brother, you're amazing." Yu Shangrong merely smiled faintly at her and did not reply. At this moment, a disciple cried out, seemingly flustered, "Elder Su is dead. Elder Su is dead." The disciples of the Thousand Willow Monastery landed and surrounded Su's corpse. As soon as Tian Buji heard these words, he instantly reprimanded the disciple, "Why are you making a ruckus? Carry his body back. I'll personally explain this to the monastery master." He glanced at Yu Shangrong before he cupped his fists and flew back to the Thousand Willow Monastery. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 1,500 merit points. Domain extra, 1,000 merit points. When he heard this notification, Zhou merely frowned slightly before he organized his thoughts again. He shifted his attention back to Mingshi, who was focused on sprouting a new leaf. At this moment, Mingshi leaf sprouting process was at a crucial point. Naturally, he did not know that his disciple, Yu Shangrong, was already a 9-leaf cultivator now. Moreover, his second disciple had broken through and sprouted the 9th leaf under difficult circumstances. Mingshi golden lotus was spinning swiftly. The leaf sprouting process resembled Zhou's determination. The radiant energy rings continued sliding down. Clearly, the power Mingshi generated was not sufficient to make vitality energy and power surged out from the golden lotus, after which the energy rings would slide backward before sprouting the 9th leaf. The members of the Evil Sky Pavilion looked at the golden lotus anxiously. They were more nervous than Mingshi himself. At this moment, Mingshi hair whitened, and his skin wrinkled. The golden lotus had already devoured most of Mingshi longevity. Shu Si's heart. Zhou reminded him. Although Mingshi was the disciple whom he worried about the least, his experience in attempting the 9-leaf stage was still lacking. Perhaps, due to his rapid aging, Mingshi attention was slightly divided. He grunted in response to his master's reminder. Then, he brought Shu Si's heart out before he divided it into large chunks and consumed them quickly. The others were bewildered as they watched Mingshi aged. Those who had severed their lotuses sighed in relief while those who had not were beginning to worry about their futures. This was especially true for little Yuan. When she imagined herself being old and wrinkled, she felt a lump in her chest. On the other hand, Si Wuya and Yi Tianqin accepted this more readily. Yi Tianqin had experienced too many deaths and did not have much to ask from life. She would not be dejected even if she could not make it to the 9-leaf stage. Kong had never seen this before, so she was curious about everything that she was seeing. After consuming Shu Si's heart, Mingshi felt vast vitality energy expanding in his sea of qi. However, that was swiftly devoured by the golden lotus. They negated each other. Mingshi felt his heart race. It was getting more and more intense by the moment. The golden lotus became agitated after being supplied with longevity. It was nearing saturation. At this moment, the 4 elders who guarded the 4 corners looked up. The beasts are here. Everyone, get ready to defend. At the top of the Evil Sky Pavilion, the strong and healthy Hua Yueshing's expression was solemn as she pulled on her falling moon bow. Her bow and arrow were wrapped in energy. It complemented her slender figure. The magnificent energy arrow shot toward a flying beast in the air. Zhou's attention was caught by this as well. Hua Wudao nodded and said, "As expected, the energy arrow of a 5-leaf grand cultivator is powerful." Hua Yueshing gave a rare smile. She knocked another energy arrow and attacked the flying beasts in the air. Zhou Yushu said, "A huge beast might show up. The 4 of us will have to work together when it comes." All right. Hua Yueshing could deal with the small flying beasts on her own. Then, the 4 elders shifted their gazes onto Mingshi. Mingshi felt his golden lotus was at its peak. The speed of his improvement slowed drastically. "Clear your head of distracting thoughts and calm your heart," Zhou said. His 4th disciple was young, after all. Mingshi drew a deep breath and stabilized his emotions. Zhou nodded. Vitality energy is flowing out. Sprout the leaf. Understood.